In Zion National Park, the body of a missing hiker is found below Angel's Landing.
13 people hiking the Angel's Landing Trail in Zion National Park have fallen to their deaths.
A hiker from Maine has died.
The hiker is dead.
2 hikers have died.
Officials tell us the man was found below the Angel's Landing.
A 24-year-old man from Las Vegas fell more than...
Zion National Park officials confirmed the identity of the missing hiker.
What can be done about the deadliest trail in Utah?
And so, one day before my intended hike, right at 12:01 a.m., I applied for the permit to hike the Angel's Landing. Successful. The response email from National Park said that I had secured my spot. Angel's Landing rises to an elevation of 1,488 feet, or 454 meters above the valley floor. This 4.3-mile, or 7-kilometer round-trip hike offers breathtaking views and a thrilling experience for those who dare to tackle its narrow ridges and steep drop-offs. It was the 28th of May when I arrived at the Grotto trailhead. There were a few other hikers around, but it wasn't crowded, which was nice. The trail started off gently. The distance from the Grotto to Scout Lookout is about 1.7 miles or 2.7 kilometers one way, which doesn't sound like much, until the elevation gain is factored in, which is around 1,100 feet or 335 meters. As the trail progressed, it became gradually steeper, and I could feel my legs starting to wake up with every step. The scenery soon transformed, and I was surrounded by the towering red cliffs that make Zion so iconic. Angel's Landing is a narrow rock formation that offers one of the most dramatic viewpoints in Zion National Park. The trail is often regarded as one of the most dangerous in the United States, not because of its technical difficulty but due to the sheer exposure along the final stretch. The best time to hike Angel's Landing is in the spring from March to May, or fall from September to November, when temperatures are moderate. Summer can be extremely hot, and winter can bring icy conditions that make the trail even more dangerous. As I continued along the trail, I entered Refrigerator Canyon, a cool, shaded haven where the towering rock walls rise up on either side, effectively blocking out much of the sun's warmth. I began my hike early in the morning to avoid the crowds and the midday heat. At this juncture, I find myself on a series of switchbacks known as Walter's Wiggles. This is where the elevation gain starts to make itself known. It's a series of 21 tight switchbacks. Each turn gives me a new perspective on the canyon below, and the higher I go, the more expansive the views become. We are about 1.5 hours into the hike, and finally we reach Scout Lookout. I approached a park ranger who was stationed at the starting point of the trek up to Angel's Landing, and after verifying my permit, she gave me a thumbs up to proceed. The final half-mile or 0.75 kilometers with an elevation gain of around 728 feet or 222 meters is not for the faint-hearted and is the most treacherous. This part of the hike is where the name, Angel's Landing, is believed to have originated, with the peak being so high that only angels could land there. This is where things get real.
The trail narrows into a series of ridges that seem to drop off into nothingness on either side. Chains bolted into the rock serve as handrails, offering some security as hikers navigate this exposed ridge. The ridges were so narrow in places that I had to focus on every step, gripping the chain railing tightly as I went. It was a constant balance between keeping my composure and moving forward, one step at a time. The sections with chains were already intense, but at least there was something to hold on to. But then, there were those sections where the chains disappeared altogether. At those points, it was just me, the trail, and the sheer drop into the canyon below. Without the chains, every step felt like walking a tightrope, with nothing but a steep cliff on either side. I was pretty scared, to be honest. These moments without the chains were some of the scariest parts of the hike. At one point, I glanced down and felt a wave of anxiety washed over me. The cliffs seemed to drop away forever, and for a moment, I was gripped by the fear that I might not be able to make it back. My heart pounded in my chest, and I had to remind myself to breathe, to stay calm. But I knew I had to keep going, had to push through the anxiety that crept in with each step. It was a mental game as much as it was physical, forcing myself to trust my footing and keep moving forward. Finally, I reached the end of the trail. I knew the next challenge awaited me, the return journey. Coming down felt even more daunting than the climb up. But on the way down, there was no escaping the sheer drop into the abyss below. It was as if the cliffs were pulling my gaze downward. It was mentally exhausting as much as it was physically, the fear of a misstep always lingering in the back of my mind. By the time I almost reached Scout Lookout, my fear and tension had given way to a deep sense of accomplishment. This hike wasn't just memorable for the physical challenges it posed, but for the mental and emotional hurdles I conquered along the way. It's a journey I'll never forget, and I'm truly grateful to have taken it.